Before we get into the video, I want to give a sensitive content warning. This story involves false accusations of sexual assault, and while no one was assaulted, it is still a deeply personal and painful topic. Please take care of yourself and proceed only if you feel comfortable. This story is one that has been weighing on me for the past 2 years. It's about trust, betrayal, and how a false accusation has actively affected my day to day life. I'll be referring to two people in this story. My now not best friend, who I'll call Bunny, and his girlfriend, Dolly. Out of respect, I won't be using real names, but I need to share what happened for my own healing and maybe to help others who face similar situations. Bunny and I had been friends for about 16 years, ever since I moved to this town. We didn't always get along, but no matter what, we always found a way back to each other and stayed close. That's why when he introduced me to Dolly about 5 or 6 years ago, I did my best to welcome her. They weren't publicly dating for the first couple of years after I met her, so I saw her more as a friend at the time. Over time, I grew to have feelings for Dolly. It wasn't a secret. Bunny knew, Dolly knew, we all knew. But the thing is, Bunny had known me for more than half our lives. So, yeah. Uh, Within the time I've known Dolly, we became close. We'd hang out, watch YouTube together, whether it was memes or some of her favorite creators, and even spent the night together at my place a few times. We'd cuddle, but nothing sexual ever happened. She always assured me that it was fine and that we were just friends, and I respected that. Dolly even confided in me about personal things, so I thought we had a good friendship. One such night, while we were hanging out, things took a turn. She told me that she had proof Bunny had been cheating on her, or at least sexting with someone else. At the time, I didn't really know how to respond. I just listened. Then she started saying things like, I'm only with him so I can have a place to stay until I get on my feet. Or even, I've only ever done it with Bunny. What if something were to happen between us? I was caught off guard and didn't really know what to say, so I just shrugged it off and said, if it happens, it happens. But we didn't talk about it any further that night. Then the following night, I asked Ollie if she wanted to come over to my place to hang out this time. She seemed hesitant at first, only because it was dark and she didn't feel comfortable walking alone, which we live in a small town. It's no, everyone's asleep. Um, so I offered to meet her and walk back with her to my place. Once there, we spent the evening like usual watching YouTube and relaxing, but then something unusual happened that night. Before we continue, please remember the content warning above or earlier. While we were so while we were sitting together, Dolly grabbed my hand and, out of nowhere, put my fingers in her mouth. I was really weirded out. Don't want to king shame or anything, but I was uncomfortable. Uh, I didn't know how to react. As time passed, I noticed her breathing got heavier. Eventually, she removed my hand briefly to catch her breath, only to put it back again. At some point, she reached down and touched me, and I wasn't feeling any kind of arousal during the encounter. After a while, I asked if she wanted me to continue further, and she nodded. However, in the middle of reciprocating her actions, I suddenly had a moment of realization, asking myself, what am I doing? I stopped, and there was an awkward silence between us. Eventually, she went to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I was lost in my thoughts. I felt terrible, and when she woke up in the morning, maybe like 2 hours of sleep, uh, we both acted as if nothing happened. After that, later that day, after I got some sleep, things felt different. Dolly asked me to give her some space and not to tell Bunny about what happened between us. I respected her wishes and backed off. But it left me feeling uneasy. Over the next few weeks and months, I tried to carry on as if nothing had happened, but the distance growing between us was growing. I hadn't heard anything from Bunny either, which only added to my confusion. Eventually, Bunny messaged me after I just came clean, and that's when everything fell apart. He told me that the reason they hadn't been speaking to me was because they needed time to think. He explained that the last time Dolly spent the night at my place, she seemed out of it when he picked her up with his uncle. Apparently, after a few hours, she told Bunny that she felt I had done something to her. She claimed to have developed a rash that she didn't have before, and because of that, Bunny told me we couldn't be friends anymore. He said that if it wasn't for her, he would have called the cops. I was devastated. He blocked me after that conversation, and I was left with this unbearable weight. I couldn't defend myself. After a few months of trying to process what had happened, I began to realize that Dolly had lied about everything. The rash she claimed to have was likely self-inflicted, and she probably asked Bunny not to call the police because if they had, they would have had to do a rape kit, which, you know, it would have proven that her claim was false. I believe she was simply afraid of being exposed, knowing that if the truth came out, she would lose her place to stay. In the end, it was all about protecting her own needs, even if it meant destroying our friendship in the process. While a part of me still loves her, I can't forgive her for how she lied and handled this situation. The truth can be painful, but it's often better to face the truth than to live a lie. If she had been honest, she might have been able to repair her relationship with him. Sure, it probably, like 99% probably, would have meant that we couldn't be friends anymore. But lies create far more pain and the far more pain than the truth ever could. I truly believe this lie has caused her pain and is likely still weighing her down. It's been just over 2 years since that night, and for the past year, I've I've wanted to talk about this experience, but was too afraid to reach out to anyone. But now, sharing my story feels like a weight lifted off my shoulders. I don't care if this video blows up or goes unnoticed. What matters is that my voice is finally being heard. This is just my side of the story, and I hope it resonates with someone out there. While I wouldn't say I've experienced major trauma from this situation, I do want to take a moment to urge anyone who is suffering to reach out and seek help. There are resources out there, and someone will always be willing to help if you take that step. Remember, we are all loved by someone, and you don't have to go through this alone.